Welcome back to the Two Witnesses Live. I'm your host, Watchful. It is September 1st, 2025, start of another month. This is, what do they call it now? Rapture Timber? Get ready for the dreams and the visions and the conversations with Jesus all about when the rapture comes, and then prepare for all the excuses after. Yes, it's that time again. No, I don't think there's going to be a rapture this month, but I could be completely wrong. So, if you're new to the channel, this is a truth-seeking channel. Our objective here is to pay attention to reality and see where the prophecies in the scriptures are being fulfilled. And there's a good chance you might be offended, because I am a firm believer that truth withstands the fire of scrutiny. I myself have come out of cult-like environments where people tried to control and manipulate me for a good portion of my life, and mainly for their own glory and praise, because they want to be right. They know the truth. And if I dare question it, I'm going to burn in the hot place. You've been in that kind of a church, that kind of a cult yourself. If you're in there, I'm sorry. I'm not meaning to put those kind of people down. There's usually a lot of very good people in those churches. It's typically religious narcissists who are running that kind of thing. And it's a trick of the adversary. He gets people thinking that they know the truth, and then gets them thinking that they are the authority. And then that knowledge is used as a weapon against people to leverage them for heaven and hell. Anyway, something like that. Anywho, welcome back. It's been a long weekend. I think I'm not going to do the show on the weekends anymore. It was very nice spending time with the family and getting stuff done. So I think we're going to do a Monday through Friday. So I do need to catch up a little bit on the weekend. And if you're wondering what we're doing now, the reason the channel is called Two Witnesses Live is I believe very firmly that we are in the end times, that prophecies are being fulfilled right now. And one of those prophecies is that the two witnesses, we're in that time. We're in that period of time when the two witnesses should be prophesying for 1,260 days. So let's jump into that. Until I have better information, I think the two witnesses, and this might offend you, like I said, you might get offended on this channel because I seek truth, and questioning beliefs and questioning assumptions has the tendency to offend some people's sensibilities. I currently believe that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are the two witnesses. And if that's a shock to you, just consider the fact that the two witnesses torment the whole world. So if you are thinking, how on earth could I possibly think that these two vile men, I heard one person today called Donald Trump a racist and a murderer. What? People hate these guys. Oh, I heard something else too. I realized I thought that Elon Musk was tormenting people when he joined the Trump administration. I found some stuff today that he's actually been tormenting people long before joining the Trump administration. So that is what happens when you tell the truth, when you push through the confusion in order to do what's right, and in order to eschew evil and allow God to punish the evil. Not that you allow God to do anything. God's going to do what he's going to do, but we're living in the end times, and there's a certain order of events to things. Anyway, my whole point being is our objective here is to look at what the two witnesses are saying. And right now we're looking at Donald Trump and Elon Musk. There you go. All righty. And we got a little catching up to do. So let's start off with Donald Trump. All right. So he posted, basically the channel right now is just spending time going through Donald Trump and Elon Musk's Truth Social and Twitter feeds, because what better way to find out what the two witnesses are saying to torment the world than going through the Twitter feeds. Alrighty, so what do we got here? He posted something about Bessett visits a restaurant in DC to highlight new no tax on tips.
Correspondent Rich Edson kicks us off tonight. He's live from the North Lawn. Hi, Rich.
Hey, good evening, Jillian. Well, as President Trump focuses on expanding his crackdown on crime, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is highlighting a major provision in the One Big Beautiful Bill, visiting with restaurant workers on Labor Day.
Why am I sitting in a bar with the Treasury Secretary?
Well, it's Labor Day, and we're here to talk about no tax on tips and no tax on overtime.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent visiting a handful of D.C. area restaurants to highlight the Big Beautiful
I can't
Bill's
wait till we have no
provision
tax,
eliminating
period.
Taxes on certain
You think we'll ever
tips.
get there?
Bessent says the administration will be back at work this week, considering sanctions against Russia after Russian President Vladimir Putin failed to follow through on pledges he made during his meeting with President Trump last month in Alaska.
He has, in a despicable manner, increased the bombing campaign. So I think with President Trump, all options are on the table, and I think we'll be examining those very closely this week.
On trade negotiations with China, the secretary says the administration is in a very good place, and he anticipates meeting again with his Chinese counterparts in mid to late October. And following last week's appeals court decision ruling most of the administration tariffs illegal, Bessent argues the massive U.S. trade deficit is an emergency and says the Supreme Court will see it that way too.
We think we're going to win at the Supreme Court. We are close to a tipping point where we could have financial instability due to these large and persistent trade deficits. So we are trying to head off a crisis.
President Trump's Labor Day focus, crime, lauding the crackdown in Washington and looking to replicate it in Chicago. He posted, quote, "Wow, Mayor Muriel Bowser of D.C. has become very popular because she worked with me and my great people in bringing crime down to virtually nothing in D.C." In Chicago, the mayor is vowing to resist.
No federal troops in the city of Chicago. No militarized force in the city of Chicago.
Because they prefer felons and criminals.
Defend our democracy in the city of Chicago.
Now, the president says Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker had better straighten out crime, or he's sending the federal government to Chicago. Pritzker says that he would welcome federal officials like the ATF or the FBI, but that he doesn't want the National Guard there. He also says the president is obsessed with democratic cities. Jillian?
Right, splitting your day today.
Well, they do tend to be the
Rich,
ones with the
between
most crime.
Barnes Tavern and the White House. It's a strong move. I also understand there's more criticism now at HHS.
Alrighty, moving back over to his feed. That was interesting. I didn't realize that Putin had been failing to keep up his end of the deal. Of course, granted, so is Volodymyr Zelensky. Something in me said nothing was going to happen, and I think I even mentioned this on the show that nothing was going to happen until February. There's a good chance that that's when the next seal is open in February. And there's the possibility that could also be the fulfillment of, for when they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction. So I expect this to linger on until then, because that's when the next eclipse is. And there's been a series of events that have lined up with eclipses. So it's something to pay attention to. So unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be a rapture this month. I don't think we're going to be swept away from this. I know that sure would be nice to be up in heaven, have a little bit of party before we get to come down and kick butt. But as it seems, I don't think that's going to happen. All right, continuing on. Woody Allen wants to direct Donald Trump in another movie after 1998's Celebrity. A pleasure to work with and a very good actor. Woody Allen. Did I say Harrelson? I think I meant Woody Allen. Woody Allen wants to direct Donald Trump in another movie. During a recent appearance on Bill Maher's Club Random podcast, four-time Oscar winner said Trump was a pleasure to work with when he appeared in his 1998 film Celebrity, and that he'd be happy to work with the president again if given the chance. We're not going to read this whole article. We got so much to get through. All right. Democratic Party is a national security threat. Just getting there. It definitely seems like there's a division between, and that may be what, part of what Satan's goal is with the rise of this first beast is this division between people. This goes back to the video that I was doing on who is Satan. There's many possibilities, and one of them definitely has to do with the knowledge of good and evil. And this idea that people want to they want to find something to hate about somebody so that they can give other people a reason to hate them. It's just like this, oh, I want to find the evil in this person's life so you'll think evil of them too. I think that's one of the things that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are doing is they're tormenting people, and people are trying to find the, what's the evil thing that I can use to get people to dislike him too. That is such a satanic like mentality, such an adversarial thing to do. So I don't really like the whole division between the left and the right. Although we have to acknowledge that there is a separation coming between the wheat and the tares. Those who aren't producing any fruit and those who are. So definitely there is a division. I don't know if it's really left and right so much. I have an appreciation for people on both sides. I don't want to think evil about people. I want to think the best about people. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be a light in this dark time. Stop looking for the evil thing that you can give other people a reason to hate the person you currently want to hate. No, love your neighbor, love God, love your neighbor as yourself. All right. As President of the United States of America, I am pleased to announce that Rudy Giuliani, the greatest mayor in the history of New York City and an equally great American patriot, will receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom, our country's highest civilian honor. Details as to time and place to follow. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. Good for him. Dude he has shown the fruit of his labor. When he was the mayor of New York City, things were good. And I believe that's when I was actually at New York. There was a period of time when I lived in Rochester, New York, and spent some time going, throughout the state when I was in college. And it was equally as nice as to where I am now on the West Coast. So good for him. That dude and Rudy stood by Donald even through the hard times when people were vehemently attacking Donald Trump. Good for him. All right, what is this?
It's a new dawn in America. President Trump is delivering a golden age for American workers. Fair trade deals are fueling a resurgence in American industry. Wages for blue-collar workers are rising at the fastest rate in 6 decades. And the One Big Beautiful Bill is delivering historic tax cuts for working families. Happy Labor Day and welcome to the golden age of the American worker.
Oh, that reminds me. I had a thought about, along the lines of the first and second beast. This week, we're going to start spending time in that second beast. Last week, we spent a lot of time in the first beast, the beast from the sea, with 7 heads, 10 horns, 10 crowns upon the horns. Because Donald Trump keeps saying that we were dead and now we're the marvel of the world, which just fits right in line with the beast. The first beast had a head wound that was healed miraculously and the whole world marveled. Seems like there's a connection there. But this week we're going to spend some time on that second beast, which is not like that first beast. I'm speculating, and we'll get more into this week, that second beast is not going to be a democracy. I think that the first beast, the reason it gives the information about it being the beast from the sea is because Revelation 17 defines sea as people, nations, tongues, languages. And beast from the land, when I'm looking at the beast, so we looked at Daniel, when you're looking at the beasts from the land, they seem to be kingdoms, where it's not a democratic, it's more of a dictatorship. So it's looking like that second beast is some kind of monarchy or dictatorship or something to where the people don't have a voice, but there is a leader or two in charge. And, I thought it was very interesting because when you parallel that to the Messiah and his millennial reign, there's not going to be a democracy. That's going to be a kingdom. So it seems like it's another step in the process of preparing the world for the millennial kingdom. the kingdom of heaven. Think about that. All right, moving on. Celebrating 250 years of the American worker. Nice. Happy Labor Day. Do you guys watch the that chit, the chit little shorts that are on YouTube now? They're Do It Lady and Is There a Black Person in Here? A black purse in here. Hilarious. He just put out a short for Labor Day, and he's got this line, you're not allowed to work. It's the law. Well, I don't know about that. Hilarious. All right. What few people understand is that we do very little business with India, but they do a tremendous amount of business with us. In other words, they sell us massive amount of goods. Their biggest client, but we sell them very little until now, a totally one-sided relationship. And it has been for many decades. The reason is that India has charged us until now such high tariffs, the most of any country, that our businesses are unable to sell into India. It has been a totally one-sided disaster. Also, India buys most of its oil and military products from Russia, very little from the US. They have now offered to cut their tariffs to nothing, but it's getting late. They should have done so years ago. Just some simple facts for people to ponder. Fire from his mouth. All right, let's see. It is very important that the drug companies justify the success of their various COVID drugs. Many people think they are a miracle that saved millions of lives. Others disagree. With CDC being ripped apart over this question, I want the answer and I want it now. I have been shown information from Pfizer and others that is extraordinary, but they never seem to show these results to the public. Why not? They go off to the next hunt and let everyone rip them apart, including Bobby Kennedy and the CDC, trying to figure out the success or failure of the drug companies' COVID work. They show me great numbers and results, but they don't seem to be showing them to many others. I want them to show them now to CDC and the public and clear up this mess. One way or the other, I hope Operation Warp Speed was as brilliant as many say it was. If not, we all want to know about it and why. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Whoa. That's interesting. Check this out. I want to show you something. I think you'll need the full screen for this one. All right. So I'm speculating, based on the evidence, because of the eclipses and everything that happened during the last 7 years. If you're new to the channel, go watch the video pinned to the channel. If you've been here for a while, I'm speculating that Operation Warp Speed was the sword that was handed to the rider on the red horse who was given power to take peace from the earth. It seemed that was the Biden administration, because the sign that we were expecting for seal number 2 happened on that day, that the Electoral College declared Joe Biden to be the winner of the presidential race. That was December 14th, 2020. Took a while for them to get to that point. You remember the shenanigans that went through, It's interesting how it delayed that long to where the announcement happened on the day of an eclipse which happened to be in the quadrant of the sky monitored by one of the living creatures, Ophiuchus, the face of a man. So you've got the rider on the red horse who's given given power to take peace and given a great sword. That was the same day. I kid you not. It was the exact same day that Operation Warp Speed was given to the Biden administration. And it was that same day that they started giving out the vaccines. So the fact that they showed him and told him, see, there's a lot of people, he got a lot of grief for supporting and spearheading Operation Warp Speed. He's now saying that they were showing him amazing numbers and amazing statistics and amazing things about this vaccine that they're not showing the public. Now he's demanding an answer why there's a discrepancy between what they're showing him and what they're showing the public. Are we going to get some answers on this? Ooh, that's pretty cool. I'm happy that he's speaking up. This is the kind of stuff that I want to see. Why did you guys tell me what you told me versus what I'm hearing? That's awesome. Get to the bottom of it. Do it, lady. Sorry, it's a line from Chit, the Chit show. I don't even know what to call that thing. It's just YouTube shorts with an underestimated guy. Let's just put it that way. All right, moving on. All right, moving on. Wow, let's see. Wow, Mayor Muriel Bowser of DC has become very popular because she worked with me and my great people in bringing crime down to virtually nothing in DC. Her statements and actions were positive instead of others like Pritzker, Westmore, Newscomb, and the 5% approval rated mayor of Chicago, who spend all of their time trying to justify violent crime instead of working with us to completely eliminate it, which we have done in Washington, D.C., now a crime-free zone. Wouldn't it be nice to say that about Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, and even the crime-drenched city of Baltimore? It can happen, and it can happen fast. Work with us. Mayor Bowser's ratings have gone up. In a short period of time, 25% of the people of D.C. are thanking her for stopping crime wherever she goes. It's not a miracle. It's hard work, courage, and being smart. The top law enforcement officer in LA said during the riots, and when I sent the troops in early, that they couldn't have done it without us. They were completely overwhelmed. If we hadn't gone in early on top of the Palisades Plus fires, LA would have lost the Olympics. Congratulations to Mayor Muriel Bowser, but don't go woke on us. DC is a giant victory that never has to end. Oh, I love it. Okay. Moving on. Let's see. 23. So we're going to try and get into some of the weekend content. Did you hear that people were rejoicing? Oh, this was new. It'll be interesting to see if there's any. I doubt we'll see anything in the timeline. But I was listening to one of the shows on YouTube. Blacklisted, I think or Redacted. I was listening to Redacted about apparently Trump had gone off the radar for a day or two and people were rejoicing because they thought that he was dead. Is that a glimpse into them rejoicing and sending gifts to one another? Anyway, we'll see. It'd be interesting if we have a gap in here. Anyway, more than $15 trillion will be invested in the USA, a record. Much of this investment because of tariffs. You know, one of the things that I hear about tariffs is tariffs are just a tax on the people because the companies are just going to pass it on to the consumers. That's not entirely true. To a degree, yes, but the market is what dictates price. They can only increase the prices so much before people just won't buy the product and it's not worth it for them to ship them here. So there's this balancing game between how much they increase these prices. And in a lot of cases, they'll just eat them because people won't. You vote with your dollar. And I would prefer to pay my taxes that way than the way that it is right now. The way that the Internal Revenue Service works, please don't hunt me down. I'm a tax-paying citizen. I still grunt through it just like the average person. But wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to? If you didn't have to like pay attention, well, I'm still going to pay attention to where my money goes. But if you didn't have to like put so much effort into the ridiculousness that is justifying why, you know, certain amounts of money don't go to the government, wouldn't it be nice to just not even worry about that anymore? I think that would be fantastic. I would much rather pay higher prices on the items that I'm buying than deal with the IRS. I like the ERS way better, External Revenue Service. That is my preferred way to pay my taxes. If we can completely eliminate the IRS, count on my vote. Anyway. All right. If a radical left court is allowed to terminate these tariffs, almost all of this investment and much more will be immediately canceled. In many ways, we would become a third world nation with no hopes of greatness again. Time is of the essence. President Donald J. Trump. Yeah, I get it. I mean, it's a tool that he is leveraging in order to do the things that God has given him to do. Let's see. Same judge as Fed case. I wonder how that happened. Must recuse President Donald J. Trump. Federal judge blocks Trump's effort to expand fast-track deportations. Surprise, surprise. Let's see. This is a total conflict of interest. The judge must recuse immediately. President Donald J. Trump. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated stands with Dr. Lisa D. Cook. Dr. Lisa D. Cook was vetted, confirmed, and uniquely qualified to serve on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Undermining her role is not just about one individual. It is a threat to the independence of the Federal Reserve and carries grave economic implications for families and communities. We also see a troubling pattern of efforts to discredit leaders and experts who are eminently qualified and prepared to lead and to serve. As a women's organization and champion of justice, scholarship, service, and economic development for 112 years, Delta Sigma Theta unequivocally opposes any measure that silences Black women, whose voices and leaderships remain vital to the progress of our nation. International president. Was this what he's responding to? This is a total conflict of interest. The judge must recuse immediately. President Donald J. Trump. Prices are, let's see. So this is the... I want to see what people are saying about this. Cook is a crook. It's astonishing that anyone would stand with a criminal. She's an embarrassment to the Federal Reserve, and she needs to resign. Please remind me why the private company has any control over our economy. The whole setup is a fiasco. They're all crooks. Yeah. All right. Can't spend too much time on these posts. Prices are way down in the United States of America with virtually no inflation, with the exception of ridiculous, corrupt politician approved windmills, which are killing every state and country that uses them. Energy prices are falling big time. Gasoline is at many year lows. It doesn't take much to get there. Prices were so high for so long. Any reduction in gas prices is welcome. I believe it or not, even though I have a bunch of electric vehicles, I also have a diesel, which is currently one of the most expensive vehicles to drive. We have a farm. What can I say? Gasoline is at many year lows. Yeah, shoot, where'd it go? Yeah. Gasoline is at many year lows. All of this despite magnificent tariffs, which are bringing in trillions of dollars from countries that took total advantage of us for decades and are making America strong and respected again. Yeah. I wonder how long. So if he's bringing in trillions, I'm curious how long it would actually be to pay down our debt, the 34 trillion. Like, obviously, it's not like these countries are cutting checks. This is obviously investment over time that brings money into the country. But I wonder how long it would actually take to pay down the debt. I honestly don't think it's going to get paid down before Christ comes back. I imagine... How's that going to go down? Do you think, so here's a question for you. Do you think when Christ comes back and sets up kingdom of heaven on earth, is it going to be, is there still going to be money? Is it going to be like a system of credit? Is it going to be a system of, what's that word? What's the word when shoot. I'm trying to remember this word. It's when you're in a community or society where you only live within your means. You don't have any excess. It's not, shoot, what's that word? Anyway, I'll think about it and blurt it out if I remember. Where was I? Yeah. All right. Debts. Barter. Yeah, it's not a barter system. It's plurality. I want to say it's like living like a plurality. That's not the word, but it's something like that, to where you oh man, a commune. No, it's a type of system. Yeah, communist, socialism, communism. Well, it kind of makes you wonder, what's it going to be like living in the kingdom of heaven, right? Because there's I know that we're still going to have jobs at least for 1,000 years. And the reason I say that is because of the parable of the talents, to where we're rewarded according to what we were given. So if you're given 1 talent, you go and you bury it, you're a wicked and slothful servant. If you're given 5 and you double it, then you get certain rewards and benefits. If if you have 10 talents and you double those, you get rewards and benefits. And there's a lot of language that talks about being put over people. So in the kingdom of heaven, I think there's still going to be logistics to deal with, to where people are going to still, I don't know, part of the curse was, in the sweat of your brow will you work to eat, right? So will we continue to work to eat, or is this where we get maybe this is why Elon Musk is making Optimus the robot. Maybe we don't have to work anymore. Maybe it's just like a big vacation, but you're organized in groups of people. Maybe there's no need for money. Everything that you could possibly need, maybe it's provided. It could also be, so that's if it's a physical reality, right? If it's a spiritual reality, to where we're in new bodies and we're in some other plane of existence, it may be completely irrelevant, right? But this is just one of the things that I wonder is, like, so we have this $34 trillion debt. Is it going to be that, like, is the Messiah going to pay down that debt? Or is the world going to be at is it going to be so cleansed that it's just a complete non-issue? Like, will the harvest, where the tares have been bundled together and burned, is that process going to eliminate the whole idea of debt? I don't know. Weird things that I think about. This is how we get to some of these conclusions, is trying to think through logistics. It's surprisingly a surprising useful tool, thinking through the logistics on how things work, because that's how you can know if something is plausible or not, right? Anyway, moving on. Why does fake news ABC this week with George Slopadopoulos have low IQ commentator Donna Brazil on the show? Wasn't she totally discredited when she gave crooked Hillary Clinton the questions to a debate? Wasn't she fired by fake news CNN for so doing? Why would ABC News hire such a dumb retread? I think he meant a different word there. Check out her disastrous interview with Megyn Kelly from years ago. A total classic. Donna is dumb as a rock and a liar besides. She and sloppy Chris Christie should be fired from a highly discredited ABC fake news. They just paid me $16 million for inaccurate reporting. Now they should pay me more. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Does that not sound like fire from his mouth of people that dared to attack him, and they tried to undermine him, and they tried to destroy him? Fire from the mouth, man. This is why I keep looking at him. Am I just like out of my mind because of this? But it's that kind of talk. It's like these people, and I know he torments people. He does. I'm sorry. I'm just repeating this stuff, trying to figure out where we are in the timeline, and when the end is, when we're redeemed finally. That's what I'm looking forward to. Aren't you looking forward to being redeemed? Your redemption? I think we're very close to the redemption. And boy, just like you see it more and more, the videos is, people just seeing that redemption close. We're getting there. Very short. We're like literally within years. Some people might say days, because rapture timber. I don't think there's going to be a rapture this month. I'm happy to be wrong. I just don't think there is. It's just this happened. And part of it is I'm so worn out because for probably 7 years straight, every September, our family got prepared for the rapture. And it just came and went. It was exhausting. And now I can see why you get up to seal number 5. And it's like, how much longer, Lord? And they're given white robes and told to wait a little bit longer. Yeah. All right. This is a list I get every single day. DC safe sit rep, 8:30. 76 arrests were made during the reporting period. 5 firearms were seized. Significant activity. An El Salvadorian national and member of MS-13 designated terrorist organization was administratively arrested. 2 separate drivers of violence were arrested. 1 for felon in possession of a firearm and 1 arrested for unlawful possession of a firearm. Subject arrested for assault on a federal officer and threats to the president. Subject arrested for threatening National Guard personnel. Subject apprehended for sexual assault. Good. That feels like justice, right? I mean, like, you do dumb things, you win dumb prizes. Here comes the cheapest Labor Day driving in years. Oh, gas prices being down. America is hot. Yep. Let's see. So now we're getting into more of the weekend posts. Trump's economy is booming. Consumer spending is up. Inflation low. Wages are up. Trying to think if I've noticed any decrease in prices. Have you guys noticed any decrease in prices on things? I mean, we do. Let's see. We do. Food doesn't seem to have gone down. We're still paying the same prices for things. Gas, we did do some driving this weekend, but we didn't fill up yet. So it'll be interesting when we go to fill up to see if the prices are actually indeed going down where we're at. But excited for them to go down. It would support my theory of Revelation 6:6. It says, in the midst of the living creatures, I heard a measure of wheat for a denarius and 3 measures of barley for a denarius. Being limited to the first 4 seals, which we're coming to the end of seal number 4. If my data is correct, we're going into seal number 5. It'd be very interesting if inflation just starts to go down. That would just be another tick on the checklist of data for, evidence that we've got the timeline information correct. Let's see. Residents in one of DC's richest or roughest wards say Trump crime crackdown is needed. Yeah. I mean, I get Chicago. I can understand why they would be fearful of the military coming in to tackle the crime. But if you're in charge and you're not able, if you don't have the leadership, the skill, the desire, or even the resources to get crime under control, that's on you. Just because you're incapable doesn't mean that, I mean, like you kind of unnecessarily bring in this situation that Trump has to federalize the National Guard and come in and take care of crime. If you don't want them to do that, deal with the crime. Pay more cops, increase, the amount of, feet you have on the street, actually start prosecuting crime, stop releasing criminals. There's a lot that they could do. I mean, I'm not in Chicago. I don't know. But from what I've seen, that seems to be the situation. I kind of get why you wouldn't want the government bringing in the military because, the especially if you're tormented by Trump, you're afraid that he's going to come in and, I don't know, if you're a criminal, if you're afraid you're going to get caught, that kind of makes sense. All right. Are you better off under Trump? The answer is clear. Yes. Under Trump, America is not simply surviving, but thriving, leading, and winning again. Yes. $8 trillion in tariff revenue, hundreds of thousands of new jobs. Labor Day. Am I still? Nope. I'm still in his. All right. DC is now a crime-free zone in just 12 days. It doesn't take long when you're doing the job. Let's see. Never felt better in my life. Also, DC is a crime-free zone. President Donald J. Trump. What is this? Carrie Lake. Congratulations to my friend Sergio Gore on being nominated for U.S. Ambassador to India. Sergio is one of the most loyal soldiers in President Trump MAGA's army. Well deserved. Jeanine Pirro. Trump has changed the safety landscape in Washington, D.C. U.S. Attorney for D.C. Jeanine Pirro discusses the Trump administration's crime crackdown in Washington, D.C. I don't want to go into these just for time. Laura Trump. Let's see. Laura Trump talks to Dr. Mehmet Oz, so Doc Oz, about getting Medicaid back on track. Laura Trump sat down with Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services Administration, Dr. Oz, and Medicaid reform enacted by President Trump's big, beautiful bill. So he just did a bunch of reposting this weekend, news articles. So he's basically reading the news and reposting these. White House moves forward on plans for a Department of War. Wall Street Journal. Is this why people were thinking he was dead? Because he was just reposting news articles? The Trump administration is advancing plans to rename the Department of Defense as the Department of War. The Wall Street Journal reported on Saturday, citing a White House official. Okay, we got to read this one. Let's see. The Trump administration is advancing plans to rename the Department of Defense as the Department of War. Well, I guess that makes sense. The Wall Street Journal reported on Sunday, citing a White House official after U.S. President Donald Trump raised the prospect on Monday. Restoring the Department of War name for the government's largest department would likely require congressional action, but the White House is exploring alternative methods to implement the change. Republican Representative Greg Steube of Florida filed an amendment to the annual defense policy bill that would change the name of the department, indicating some Republican support in Congress for the change. The White House gave no details, but underscored Trump's comments this week, emphasizing the U.S. military's offensive capabilities. As President Trump said, our military should be focused on offense, not just defense, which is why he prioritized warfighters at the Pentagon instead of DEI and woke ideology. Stay tuned, said White House spokesman Anna Kelly, using the initials DEI to refer to programs aimed at increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion. Trump raised the idea of rebranding the Department of Defense as the Department of War while speaking with reporters in the Oval Office on Monday, saying it just sounded to me better. I think war is coming. It's definitely coming. All right, let's move on. They are not just journalists, they are highly paid actors. Yes, indeed. Let's see. President Trump is 79 years old, has 5 kids and nearly a dozen grandkids, has 15 plus golf courses and billions of dollars, but every single day he works for the American people. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Fact of the day. Illegal immigration is not a victimless crime. All taxpayers are its victims. Yeah, are we done? Let's see. So these are not his posts. Am I in? I'm in on a post. Yeah. All right, here we go. Without tariffs and all the trillions of dollars we have already taken in, our country would be completely destroyed, and our military power would be instantly obliterated in a 7-4 opinion. A radical left group of judges didn't care, but one Democrat Obama appointed actually voted to save our country. I would like to thank him for his courage. He loves and respects the USA. Nice. You know, that reminds me, I'm just reminded of that scripture that talks about those who lead into captivity must be captive. Those who kill with a sword must be killed by the sword. You get back what you give out. Let's see. Homelessness. You know, that's something I want to investigate. I do think it's right that you tear down these tents and that you should not allow these homeless encampments to just pop up everywhere. Part of the problem was the immigration. When you're allowing massive numbers of people into the country who don't have resources, you know, they're forced to live where they may. but that's not the primary problem. That, sure, I'm sure that makes up a part of it, but in my experiences, we have a lot of homelessness around them. These people are all on drugs, and they may not have started that way, but the people who don't have some kind of a mental issue or a drug issue are basically living in their vehicles and living on the road and finding ways to make money. As speaking as somebody who lived in their car for several months, I enjoyed it. I get the idea, the concept of not being tied down to a home, but living in your car, van life. There's a certain appeal to that. But during that time when I was living in the car, maybe this was part of the reason why God had me living in my car. For those of you who don't know, I had gotten so hardcore during the pandemic with the rapture and the prophecy being fulfilled, that it just drove my wife absolutely crazy. And she's a wonderful woman, a wonderful believing woman who's highly supportive of me and my crazy theories and this show. She's actually the reason I do this show, because she had made me promise that the very first video, I haven't published it. Maybe I'll publish it, but the very first video is me giving the story about my wife, saying that if the rapture didn't happen in like September of 2021 or 2022, that I would start a YouTube podcast so that I could start, sharing information and start refining the information to make sure that I'm on the right path, and I'm not just believing empty ideas, that I'm actually seeking data and putting it to the fire to see what actually sticks. Because she got tired of me going, oh, there's so many things pointing to this September. This is the time where there's going to be a rapture. She got tired of it and kicked my ass out. So I lived in my car for 3 months or so. But anyway, during that period of time, I got to spend a lot of time with the homeless, because I was in essence homeless. And a good majority of them, the ones that are living in the tents and in these encampments, mental issues, drug issues, alcohol problems. There's no shortage, in my experience, there's no shortage of food and money. There is kind of a shortage of money. Now that I think about it, there were some people who they ran out of gas and they just ended up having to live where they were, but they had access to resources. They had food debit cards. They had a small amount of income, and many of them panhandled and made really good money. The problem is they would spend it on drugs and alcohol. I saw that time and time again when I was living in the car. People were there by choice. My point being is, unless you do something about it and force people out of that situation, they're just going to spiral until they die. That's the honest to God truth. When you're in that state and you don't know how to get out of it yourself, you need somebody to put you in the situation that you're forced to make a decision, where you're forced to do something about it. My hope is, and this is something that I haven't seen from Trump before he was elected president. He laid out a really interesting plan about dealing with the homeless problem, to where, they were going to build areas that they could actually get off drugs. They were going to provide detox centers. They were going to provide medical help, because he had acknowledged that problem that I experienced when I was living in my car, is that there are people in this situation that they can't of themselves get out of. I hope he's doing that. I wonder if there's anything. I'm gonna look into that some more, because that one kind of slipped my mind for a while. I'm gonna get back to you guys on that and give you a report on what I find in regards to what's going on with the homeless, because I care very much about the homeless. We tried for a period of time, my family, because we're looking for ways that we could help those who are naked and homeless and destitute. And what we had found is our efforts actually weren't helping, but they were hurting. They weren't helping, but they were hurting, because if you give them clothes, they wear them once and they throw them away. They have an endless access to clothes because of the donation centers. A lot of the centers that have clothes will stop giving the clothes to the homeless, because they just find it on the street within a mile of the centers where they go to get their clothes, because they would, they just change through them. They don't bother, and they have access to facilities, a lot of them. They make no effort to care about the clothes. Anyway, my point being is, if you would give them food, they don't lack food. A lot of them, in a lot of cases, because they have access to, EBT cards. So a lot of the times that food would just go to waste. And what we had discovered is you're better off volunteering at the shelters and the kitchens and the food banks, where they actually go to get the resources that they need, because those organizations are doing more to actually make sure that the right people are getting access, the people who really need it, because there are some people who need it. Even our family, during a period of time during COVID, because I've told you guys I lost 2 jobs on one day at the beginning of COVID. We went through a period of time we needed to go to the food bank. So there's resources available, and I really hope that he is actually working on that plan that he had talked about. I need to find those videos on what his plan was and follow up on if he's actually doing it. Anyway, sorry about that long rant. That's actually something that's really kind of close to my heart, is the homeless and dealing with it properly. Like, I do think it's right to take down these tents, because there's places that they can go to get help, and they're just not going, or they're here illegally and they can't go there. So they need to go back home and come in legally. Sorry if that sounds cold. Let's see. Great Plain. Let's see. So this is a day ago with John Gruden, a really nice guy and true character. Let's see. I hope the Major League Baseball is getting ready to put Roger Clemens in the Hall of Fame, a place where he belonged for many years. 354 wins, second in the total strikeouts, low earned running average, played in 6 World Series, 7 CY Young Awards, a record by 3. Man, how does he keep track of all this stuff? I mean, like, with everything, he remembers people's names. He remembers very specific details about them, countries, situations. I mean, like, this man has got a bulletproof head, literally. And he has time for sports and sports details and tracking people and their records. Anyway, and let's see, during much of his career, unhittable, never took drugs. There is no proof that he took drugs. Has steadfast. He's talked about this before. Has steadfastly refused that he took drugs. Frankly, I think he has a major lawsuit against baseball. If it were me, I'd sue them. Put Roger Clemens in the Hall of Fame now. Not like you did with Pete Rose when you waited until he was dead. There's something to be said about lawsuits in order to get things done. A lot of the imagery in regards to the end times is a courtroom. So if you think about what we read in Daniel 7, when it talks about basically the judge being seated and opening the books and going through the testimony, our God is a legal God, Obviously, he gave the law to Moses. Let's see. Put Roger Clemens in the Hall of Fame now. Not like you did with Pete Rose when you waited until he was dead. All right, we've rehashed this one. Let's see. This is peace through strength and action. The results are indisputable. What is this? Congressman Byron Donalds. Are these our allies? No video. I don't know exactly what to make of this. Armenian, Azerbaijan, Cambodia, Egypt, Ethiopia, India, Pakistan, Israel, Bahrain. Are these peace agreements? Okay. Michael Goodwin, don the picture of a true leader. Oh, I'm still sharing the other screen. Whoops. Sorry. Let's see. Where are we? McConnell's likely replacement has been revealed. Would you support this? Libs push false claims about Trump's hiding, where Trump was just spotted, reveals the truth. Oh, yeah, this is what I was talking about. Liberals claim Trump was hospitalized, where Trump was just seen, reveals the truth. Okay. All right. Trump seen heading to play golf amid reports of health crisis. President Donald Trump left the White House in golf attire Sunday morning and headed to his country club in Northern Virginia. Maybe that's the ticket. Maybe I need to make time for golf. I don't know where he gets his energy or that steel trap of a mind, but envy. I wish I had that kind of memory. As rumors spread on social media that we're experiencing severe health issues, wearing golf shoes, black pants, a black pullover, and a white USA hat, he departed in a SUV and arrived at Trump National Golf Club in Sterling short after 10 a.m. Okay, so he was going to play golf. That's hilarious. Let's see. Donald J. Trump goes 4 days without public statement, and the Dems go crazy. Meanwhile, Joe Biden went 4 years without a comprehensible public statement, and it was cricket and cover-ups. I think it's hilarious because they're showing what they're going to do when, it finally happens. What happens to the two witnesses? All right. I got to believe that we're getting to the end here because we've been reading this for an hour and we still haven't done Elon Musk. Gavin Newsom gets shock news from the Department of Justice after officials make a chilling discovery. Oh, that's not Trump. That's D'Souza. Are we at the end? I think we might be at the end. 12 hours ago. What few people understand is that we do very little business. Nope, we read that. It's very important to drug companies. Read that one. All right. Good night. 23 hours ago. Okay, well, it feels like we're at the end here. Let's move on to Elon. Here we go. Let's look at some questions and comments. See if you guys have anything that need answered before we move on to Elon. Trump and Elon, the 2030. Will we need clothes as Adam and Eve had spiritual bodies? No need for clothes. Very likely, very possible. I often wonder what clothes of animal skin means. Did he literally make them clothes? Or is that when we had actual bodies? So what's interesting is Adam was formed from the dust of the ground, and our bodies now are still formed from the dust of the ground because that's what you go back to when you die. When your breath life leaves you, you go back to dust. So I often find myself wondering what the skins that God made for Adam and Eve is. Could just be clothes. Let's see. They did give us their worse. Yes, as won't be like Adam and Eve because we have knowledge. I don't feel a dollar goes longer way. Yeah, me neither. Fed is talking about lowering rates. I will say that we always seem to do better under Trump's administrations. Like we were really struggling under Biden's administration. That is not the case under Trump's administration. Both the first administration and this one, we seem to do very well. Let's see. What about the elected officials do nothing? Satan run the blue cities as the left is his army. It does seem like Democrats are Democrats. Oops. Just like the border, do your jobs. Let's see. We believe the one that stands in the temple claiming to be our new God, being AI loaded itself into a robot, thus digitally being able to control the world and its people. This could happen in 2027. Yeah, I don't. There's more than one ways to read 2 Thessalonians 2 that you're referring to the truth. That's who made this comment. Here, let me put this on the screen. I don't think it's AI into a robot. Just because this doesn't seem feasible The end time interpretation around this about some guy going into the temple and declaring himself God doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think it's a reality. I can't see this actually happening and anybody falling for it or buying it. What makes more sense to me is 1 Corinthians 3:16 says that you are the temple of God. So in 2 Thessalonians, when it says the man of sin sits in the temple of God as God, showing himself that he is God, that sounds more like a doctrine to me, which coincides with Exodus 20. The most egregious sin, the most egregious form of idolatry is making somebody your God. That's the first commandment that was given to, out of the 10 commandments that were given to Moses on the mountain that he gave to the children of Israel. Don't worship anything above God, anything on the earth, anything in the sea, anything in the heaven. It's iniquity. It actually calls it hatred of God. When we're told to love God and love our neighbors, hatred of God is to worship something else other than him, to make something else your God. And I'm not saying like a leader or a governor or somebody who's in charge of you, which a king falls into that category, but to make somebody your creator, the source of who you are, is to make that a guy is the most egregious form of idolatry, and it's been a problem throughout the centuries. Literally, the 7 churches that are addressed in Revelation 2 and 3, one of the common attributes of those 7 churches is they were all required to declare Caesar as their God. The Jews and some of the Christians had an exception. They had this book called the Book of Life, where if their name was written in the Book of Life, they were exempt from declaring Caesar as their God because they served Yahweh. So I don't really buy this end time narrative about some guy going into the temple and saying, I am your God, you now need to serve and worship me. No. What I see as more of a reality is either Islam is going to rise up because there's 200 million Muslims, or there's going to be some kind of religious movement because religion has killed more people than wars. Religion kills people. As somebody who's come out of the cult, religion has a way of engendering hate. And it comes down to that knowledge of good and evil. It's us versus them, they versus us, to where they, and I think that's the trick of Satan. Satan gets people whipped up into, you need to kill the person who I tell you to kill, right? I mean, religion does that. Which don't get me wrong. I differentiate God from religion. I don't think God has anything to do with religion. When I'm talking about religion, I'm talking about man-made beliefs, where you have these religious narcissists who make up lies in order to control and manipulate, and that happens a lot. That is a massive problem in this world. So when it talks about and I'm not just picking on one doctrine here. I'm picking on all the doctrines that make it so that you're not actually loving God. So it makes more sense to me that the man of sin sitting in the temple of God as God, showing himself that he is God, it does not have to be a real physical person. It could be a doctrine about a person. I'll leave it there with that. It just seems more realistic to me than somebody going into a temple and going, I'm your God now. Like, who's going to believe that? Anyway, sorry for that rant. Let's get on to Elon Musk. All righty. Let me hit refresh. White feathers for the cowards. Oh. Make Europe great again. Yeah, he's been really vocal about Europe. Let's see. Doge. Elon Musk is just an extraordinary engineer, and I love working. So this is the guy who's the CEO of NVIDIA. I love working with him. We're going to build many more computers together. I'm delighted to be working with him. I think Optimus opportunity is just right around the corner. It's very likely that human robots are going to be robots that we can deploy into the world relatively easily. And this is the first robot that really has a chance to achieve the high volume and technology scale necessary to advance technology. And I think this is likely to be the next multi-trillion-dollar industry. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang. I don't know if it's Huang or Wang. Yeah. I mean, it could go any way right now. So on one hand, you have Elon Musk building a robot army. That could be the army that could have something to do with the end times. I don't know if he could scale it up that fast, though. I don't know if he could build 200 million of these things. I can't remember the numbers, but he was talking about the way they typically ramp things up is usually there's like they're able to build like, you know, they go from a couple hundred in a month and then it like scales up a couple months after that. If you look at Tesla over the course of 10 years, it took a very long time for them to meet the demand. So if there's any kind of demand for these Optimus robots, and it could be an exponential growing thing, like as they make the robots, they might be able to put them to work making more robots. So I guess it could grow pretty fast. But on the one hand, you have Elon Musk potentially building the iRobot army, and he likes to make fun and use that name, probably because he's a troll and likes to torment people. And then you also have, you've got Muslims who have, there are some who have the belief that that their numbers are going to be how they win in the end time. So there's 200 million of them. And then you've got China, which has, hundreds of millions of people. So these numbers are interesting when it comes to end time battles because there's talk about 200 million man armies. Is that robots? Is it people? I don't know. Things to pay attention to. So I get people's fear of the Optimus robot, but at the same time, I also see it as, potentially the technology that will enable the kingdom of heaven to where you're no longer required to work to eat, to where maybe the kingdom of heaven, the 1,000-year millennial reign could be a vacation, the long earned vacation, after everybody who's died is raised, the resurrection, raised from the dead, given their new bodies. I don't know. I'm pretty sure we'll be working, but it'll be interesting to see if the curse comes to an end, because you know what I'm talking about, right? In Genesis, where it talks about when Adam and Eve fell, before the fall, they didn't have to work to eat. After the fall, they had to work to eat. That was part of the curse. All right, moving on. Low birth rate is the number one threat to the West, followed closely by migration. There will be no West if this continues. Replacement migration is the greatest threat to the entire West currently faces. Yes. All right. The rape of Europe. So this is a retweet. Last night in Milan, an 18-year-old girl was beaten, and that word while trying to catch a train home. She was just turned 18. She called the emergency line herself, her voice breaking as she said what had been done to her. Dragged from the station underpass at San Zeon Alhambra into the trees, beaten. That word and abandoned. I'm trying to avoid that word because it seems like YouTube is a little bit harsh on it lately. But you can see what I'm saying. The rescuers found her with the marks still on her body, rushed her first to the Policlinico di Milano, then to Manganiello's anti-violence center. She was treated, examined, processed like one of the cases and along the line of cases. One more scar added to a system that records but doesn't stop the violence. Okay, yeah. You get the idea. Let's see. Boston Imam Abdullah Farouk What's wrong with you, sick white Americans? Go back to Europe because you've done nothing but cause hell in this country and all over the world. This is the land of the coward and home of the slave. Without Islam, America will meet its demise. Interesting. What did he say about that? Kick him out of the country. Agreed. I do think that the reason for the colors of the first 4 seals, I don't think it's any coincidence that it aligns with these Muslim nations, Ishmael. The colors match. Let's see. Let's just look for his posts. There we go. How did Jefferson defeat Berber slavery? Thomas Jefferson, as the 3rd president of the United States, played a pivotal role in confronting the Barbary states, often referred to as the Barbar, in relation to the Berber peoples of North Africa, though commonly known as Barbary pirates, and the practice of enslaving captured sailors from American merchant ships. These states, Tripoli, Algiers, Tunis, and Morocco, engaged in state-sponsored piracy, capturing vessels. That's a lot of stuff. Oh, so the question. Whoops. Oh, darn it. We lost Elon. There we go. Yikes. A lot of stuff about what's going on in Europe. A lot of reposts about that. Slavery. 1 in 4 schools in England now has native British children in the minority. In 72 schools, there are none at all. The numbers come straight from the Department of Education's consensus. Oh, he's just responding, wow. The authorities should be put on trial for assisting in murder. Ugh. It now turns out that the illegal Iraqi migrant who killed 16-year-old Ukrainian war refugee Liana in Göttingen, Germany, by pushing her in front of a train, had a deportation order issued for March 2025. The authorities never carried out the deportation, as so many times before. Oh, man. Agreed. The authorities should be put on trial for assisting in murder. Man. You think about these people that would be alive if only, there's always that if only situation, if only XYZ had happened. Let's see, you can't make this up. And the funny thing is that we're all paying for her to be incompetent. We are very silly country governed by idiots. Significant errors. NHS doctor suspended for 6th time because she can't speak English after colleagues flagged risk to patients. Oh my gosh. Yikes. Did I do it again? All right. All righty. It is pure evil to mutilate children. Agreed. This is J.B. Pritzker's trans cousin who funds child transgender clinics. It is pure evil to mutilate children. Prison for life. You realize that he is the father of a son who transitioned to a female. He considers his son to be dead. He acknowledges his daughter, but he's got a lot to say when it comes to transitioning children. He's experienced it. And he's very vocal about the lies and the deception that they told him that caused him to allow that to happen. Had he known, he would not have allowed it to happen. My understanding is he still has a great relationship with all of his children. Well, ish. There's some interesting drama in his family. Let's see. It gets worse every month, not just every year. Outrage in Germany after Afghan migrant who was arrested for, 11-year-old was released after 12 days, then did it again. It gets worse every month, not just every year. Yeah. Yeah, the British government announces it will start issuing expedited visas to Gazan students so they can move to the UK and study at British universities. The UK will also establish government or a permanent framework for more refugee students to come study in the UK. I'm actually okay with that. I don't have any issue with the Gazans. It's Hamas that I have a problem with. My understanding is, and I could be wrong about this, there's good people over there in Gaza. So, if there's opportunities for them, more power to them. So slave originates from the word for white person. What? Let's see. What is the origin of the word slave? The word slave entered English around 1290, derived from the Old French enclave for sclave, which itself became the medieval Latin sclavius. The Latin term sclavus originally referred to a Slav, a member of the Slavic people of Eastern Europe, but evolved to mean slave due to the widespread capture of enslavement of Slavs during the Middle Ages, particularly from the 9th century onward by groups such as Byzantines, Muslims in Spain, and various European powers. This historical association led to the ethnic name becoming synonymous with servitude in several European languages. The root is not connected to the etymology of Slav itself, which likely derives from Proto-Slavic words related to word or glory, but rather reflects the socio-historical context of enslavement. Alternative derivations, such as from the Greek word meaning to include, have been proposed but are not widely accepted. It reminds me of the idea of slavery in the Old Testament isn't the same as slavery as we understand it in our culture. In the Old Testament, it was more comparable to employment, to where you would be I think the Greek word is doulos. Like, don't quote me on that, or a bond servant, to where they would basically pierce your ear if you were a slave. And my understanding is the arrangement was more like employment, to where you had dedicated to serve a particular master for your life, and in exchange they would take care of you, all of your needs and your family needs for your life. So it was a mutually exclusive relationship, the servant and the master. So it didn't have the negative connotations that we're familiar with, in our culture, to where somebody is held against their will and forced to work. Teslanomics. Let's see. Tesla Master Plan Part 4 Introduction. Since Tesla's founding, each iteration of our master plan has focused on. Let's look at this. Wow, that's a really long master plan. I will read that and get back to you on what it is. Yeah, they did lie to Elon about the procedures. Yeah, they told him it was reversible. He talks about this. He said that they told him that it was harmless and reversible, that it was just a phase thing, and it turned out to be wrong. Let's see, of course. Any asylum seeker, refugee, or immigrant who commits a crime on British soil should be deported to their country of origin. Yes, that's kind of given. Like, I mean, if you want, if you're serious about seeking asylum and escaping, tribulation, you should not bring that tribulation to the country that you're seeking asylum to. If you come, it's got to be part of the end times. It's got to be part of whatever it is that the seals are doing when they're being opened, that are allowing bad things to happen. Whatever's happening is transitioning us to the kingdom of heaven. I don't exactly know why, because when you look at it with the Lamb opening the seals, and then like these terrible things happen, like the first seal, going forth, conquering and to conquer, having peace taken from the earth, a great weapon. It's like the devil knows that he has a short time. He's persecuting the saints. It's all preparing towards this final battle, this final redemption. Yeah. So I don't know why this stuff is happening. I mean, I do know why it's happening. Obviously, we're the end times, but I don't know why. I can't wait till we have clearer answers on it. I keep going back to the separation of the wheat and the tares are being bundled up and burned. Are we in it? Are we going through the reaping now? I don't know. Elon Musk, remigration is on the way. Go anywhere in the UK and look around. You'll just see foreigners everywhere. It's truly sickening, the damage that has been done to our nation and to our people. Remigration is the only way. Agreed. See, they gave them homes rent-free while British citizens have to pay. Why? Because they want their votes. Asylum seekers given new $300,000 town houses rent-free while struggling locals can't get on property ladder. The new homes have underfloor heating and EV chargers for electric cars. Asylum seekers have been put in new $300,000 townhomes complete with, geez, must be nice. And it will work unless the people of Britain put a stop to it. Huh. Yeah. So this is his focus. And this is, I think this is a very two witness thing to do. He's drawing attention to these problems. Is that what the point is of all this? I mean, has the restrainer been removed so that evil can be exposed? Because so much of it, it's just like, it's so obvious and so in our face. It's almost like we're being allowed to witness this stuff so that it can finally be, so justice can finally be served. Maybe that's the whole end point. And that seems like what he's doing. He's drawing attention to these terrible things. Most of Britain is still sleepwalking through this nightmare, but more people are finally waking up, and it's thanks to X. Without this platform, the Unite the Kingdom protest on September 13 would be buried, censored, erased. So that's what he's doing. He's drawing attention to that protest. Time to wake up to horrific reality. Interesting. Thank you, Elon, for buying and building X. This is him. He said, let that sink in when he bought X. Love it. All right, what's this?
The Democrats who are, they don't want the waste and fraud to be turned off because it is a gigantic magnet to attract illegal immigrants and have them stay in the country. And I mean, you see some of the crazy stuff, like where money from FEMA, which is meant, FEMA is an agency that's meant to take care of Americans in distress. And a bunch of their money was being sent to pay for luxury hotels in New York for illegal immigrants. And that was happening even after the president was elected, even after he signed an executive order saying that needs to stop. So we actually made sure that that money did stop going, because obviously it's outrageous that American taxpayer money is spent on luxury hotels for illegals. But you have to say, like, why was that being done? It was because the Democrats are trying to import voters, basically.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah. And that's also why there's no voter ID needed. In fact, in California and New York State, you're not allowed to show voter ID. Mm-hmm. Isn't that even insane?
Insane.
Yeah.
I say that as a New Yorker. It's insane.
Yeah, insane.
Oh. This is really interesting comment from the truth. Illegals are the locusts. That reminds me of something else I heard today. There's a reference. So I was listening to JTV. Maybe I'll find that video and share it. But that makes sense to me. Illegals are the locusts, because when you think about locusts, they come in great numbers. They eat all of the resources and just leave areas completely decimated. That's exactly what happened. I think you're right. That imagery fits to where the illegals are the locusts. The thing that got my attention today, which is a parallel to that, is suicide bombers are the bees. There's references to prophecies in the Old Testaments about the arrows of fire referring to missiles, and the bees referring to suicide bombers. Because when you think about a bee, when a bee stings, it has to kill itself in order to sting someone. Let me see if I can find that video. That's really interesting. See, this is the stuff that's so freaking exciting. You start, seeing what these things actually mean and see it's just making sense. I think I usually do these under, whoops, go away, Apple Intelligence. Let me find that video. I think it's under my Watchful account. Yeah, here it is. Come on.
Have you ever had a strange feeling that maybe the events we're seeing play out today aren't random? That perhaps the chaos, the wars, the confusion that we're experiencing right now was actually anticipated centuries ago? Have you ever wondered, is history just an accident or part of a big unfolding story? What if I told you that a tiny nation the size of New Jersey dominates global headlines not by accident, but by ancient design? That Israel, a country you could drive across in 3 hours, occupies more United Nations resolutions than North Korea, Iran and China combined, because it was prophetically foretold. In this JTV documentary, we're going to crack open ancient biblical prophecies so precise they'll make you question everything you thought you knew about current events. We'll discover how an 1800-year-old Talmudic text reads like yesterday's intelligence briefing, predicting Iran's threats and global panic with terrifying accuracy. We'll unlock Torah verses that numerically correspond to the exact years of Israel's rebirth, the Holocaust, and even October 7th, revealing a divine mathematics that will leave skeptics speechless. You'll learn why ancient rabbis described flaming arrows of death a millennium before rockets existed, why they predicted suicide attacks using the metaphor of bees that sting and die, why they foresaw attackers targeting, quote, young men and
Yeah, so I'll put the link to that video in this description so you guys can watch it. This was a really good video, and when you made that locust comment, reminded me of the bee stinger from this earlier. Amazing how God works, isn't it? Inspiring us to share this information. This is amazing. So yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. Totally, the locusts with the immigrants. That's exactly what is happening now. I want to go read that section in the scripture, what it talks about that, and see where it fits in the timeline, because that will give us more information about that timing. It kind of goes hand in hand with like the Nile drying up. Like that's a kind of a one-time event. It's not like it dries up and then refills and then dries up again. When it's dried up, that's clearly what the scripture was talking about. So likewise with the locusts. So thank you for that. All right, moving on. Let's finish. I've been going for an hour and a half. So let's finish this off here. Let's see. The goal is obviously long-term settlement to import voters. If mass importation of voters is allowed to continue, it will succeed, and the vote of Britain born will not matter. Okay, you know what? I can't get that out of my mind. Now I got to go read this. The locust comment. Locusts. Deuteronomy, Exodus. Oh, there's a lot of stuff with locusts. No, I want the one in Revelation. Revelation 9? Yeah. The locust from the bottomless pit. Let's read this. All right. Then the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to the earth. To him was given the key to the bottomless pit. Oh, let's read the whole chapter. King James, yeah. And he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke arose out of the pit like the smoke of a great furnace. So the sun and the air were darkened because of the smoke of the pit. Then out of the smoke locusts came upon the earth, and to them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. They were commanded not to harm the grass of the earth, or any green thing, or any tree, but only those men who did not have the seal of God on their forehead. And they were not given authority to kill them, but to torment them for 5 months. Their torment was like the torment of a scorpion. When it strikes a man, there's your sting. that you were referring to. In those days, men will seek death and will not find it. They will desire to die, and death will flee from them. The shape of the locust was like horses prepared for battle. On their heads were crowns of something like gold. I always think of what's his name? Who's the man? Names are. I'm just doing terrible with names today. Who's the pastor of the really big church who speaks on end time events? He's done it for years and years and years. Partially, responsible for how we view the end time events. He's not. I don't think he's with us anymore. But he was a really into science, so he always had like this real world interpretation when reading these end time events. Anyway, I can't remember. You know who I'm talking about, but I can't remember his name right off the top of my head. Let me see if you guys are saying it in comments. He likened the shape of the locusts that are described here to helicopters, to certain type of military helicopters that fit this description. The shape of the locust was like horses prepared for battle. On their heads were crowns of something like gold, and their faces were like the faces of men. They had hair like women's hair, and their teeth were like lions, and they had a breastplate like breastplate of iron. And the sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots and many horses running into battle. They had tails like scorpions, and there were stings in their tails. Their power was to hurt men for 5 months, and they had a king over them, the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, but in Greek he has a name, Apollyon. So this is during the trumpets. And what's interesting is I think the drying up of the Euphrates is also in the trumpets. So are these actually happening, or is this something else? The 5 months is interesting, something interesting to pay attention to. I'm going to have to go see where this fits in the timeline of things. There's a lot of parallels, and there's a lot of mirror images that take place in the book of Revelation. It makes it really hard to kind of put things together. I mean, like the anchor point to the entire book is literally in the center of the book, which if you understand how the chiastic structure works, it's a mirror image, and the two mirrors point to, the thing that's important. So, I mean, it makes sense that the anchor point is in the middle of the book of Revelation, but it kind of makes me wonder, where do the trumpets fit in our timeline? Things that make you go, great comment. Thank you for bringing that up. Now I'm going to be thinking about that for the rest of the week. Let's go back to this. So I don't know. Yeah. I mean, that's a real interesting correlation. There's a lot to unpack with that. Helicopters, migrants, bees, stinging like scorpions. No, it's not Trey Smith. It's here. I'll go look up the name. Let's see. What was his name? As soon as I say the name, you're all going to be like, oh, yeah, duh. Is this him? Nope. It's going to drive me insane if I don't remember. It'd probably be easier for me just to find the video. End times teachings on the locusts. Wow. Google is failing me. Let's look in YouTube. Not Billy Graham. Chuck Missler? I think it's Chuck Missler. Yes. Chuck Missler is the one who did the teachings. That's who I'm thinking of. You guys know Chuck Missler, right? I lost my window. Yeah, Chuck Missler. I think he's the one. And I'll find the video where he goes through that because there's really interesting information. Here's the thing, though. But before these events actually happen, all you can do is guess. So I don't fault anybody who's been teaching this stuff for years. And, and gentlemen like Chuck Missler have done amazing teachings with the best guess that they could possibly come up with. And I don't fault him for that. And I don't think he's around right now to see this stuff unfolding. But to those who continue to teach when the things are unfolding before your eyes, there's a lack of observation. You're not watching like you were told to watch. You're not making an effort. If you're that's how you get cognitive bias. When you think you know something and you're looking for it. It's funny. I see some funny examples of this happen all the time. There's let me see if I can find this. I've been saving these to do a video on it. I think I gave it. No, let's do WTF. Yeah, this one. This is funny. All right, I want to show you guys this. This is hilarious. This is about like assumptions. Like when you think you know what something means, it's just laughable. So this is from this is from the Seth MacFarlane Star Trek show. Whatever it's called. Man, I'm just terrible with names today.
Sherman, what's this thing? Cellular telephone, but the circuitry is so degraded we haven't been able to reactivate it.
We've been coming at this from a 25th century perspective. If I could dumb down the reconstruction pattern a bit, now if we can get a bias current on the cathode tab.
Just a crazy idea. Try turning it off and turning it back on again.
Boom, there it is.
Correspondences between people, they just go on and on.
She's clearly asking her friend where to find the nearest repair service for her device. But instead of writing wireless telecommunications facility, she just wrote WTF. And we can...
So that's what I'm talking about. It's like clearly she's writing to ask her friend about the closest wireless telecommunications facility, but she wrote a summary WTF. That's kind of the same thing. Like when you're looking at something from the past and you're reading it from your perspective, there's a chance you might be getting it wrong. I think about that all the time. Some of the crazy things that we say and we do, like what are the people in the future going to think about some of the like WTF when they find that? Man, we're really getting off track, aren't we? All right, back to it. The goal is obviously long-term settlement to import voters. Let's see, should I go on this podcast? Dear Uncle Elon Musk, please accept our invitation to come on the podcast of the Lotus Eaters and chat with us about the continuing rape of Britain, the traitor class that made it happen. Yes, please go on that. This must stop now. Asylum seekers are given new $300,000 homes. Yeah, we've seen that time and time again. Let's see, progress. Let's see, X is now the #1 app in news and magazines in Germany. People are done with filtered headlines. They want raw truth. Yep. Thankfully, that was definitely God with Elon buying Twitter. He makes a great point. Let's see what he says.
Do not let them harm you when it to happen. You can put rules and regulation. Deport those Islamists. Do not let them harm your children. Do not let them harm your society, your community. Do not let them be the people who wake up on the 8th of October, for example, and tell you to boycott challah, attack a Jewish restaurant just for being a Jew, and they justify it and they allow it. Don't be. This is your country. This is your civilization. You cannot be Muslim more than me. You will not be more Arab than I. So why is it that I banned the Muslim Brotherhood and you haven't? Why is it the fact that Islamic Relief is banned in UAE and it's banned in Mecca? what is allowed in Paris and in London. So it's, yeah, there is a lot of questions to be asked. You're allowing it to happen.
That is very interesting. Let's listen to that
You
again.
can put rules on regulation, deport those Islamists. Do not let them harm your children.
Deport those Islamists. Do not let them harm your children.
Do not let them harm your society, your community. Do not let them be the people who wake up on the 8th of October, for example, and tell you to boycott challah, attack a Jewish restaurant just for being a Jew. And they justify it and they allow it. Don't be. This is your country. This is your civilization. You cannot be Muslim more than me.
So he's a Muslim, and he's saying you cannot be Muslim more than me.
You will not be more Arab than I. So why is it that I banned the Muslim Brotherhood?
Why is it that he banned the Muslim Brotherhood and you haven't? That's a really good point. You know what I think is happening? I mean, I know this to a degree. These are the trials that are coming on the whole world, right? You know, the Philadelphian church their promise is that they will be kept from the trials coming on the whole world. I think that's what we're in. These are the trials coming on the whole world. So if you lead into captivity, you will be captive. If you kill with the sword, you'll be killed by the sword. These are the trials. The entire world seems to be going through these scenarios to test. And I don't know if that's offensive to some people to think that that God is testing you, but how else do you separate the wheat from the tares? How else do you find out what's really in people's heart but to test them and try them? And God already knows your name's written in the book of life. He already knows how you're going to fare through the test. And yet the test still has to take place. But it's interesting that, you know, even this man who is a Muslim is doing more than non-Muslims to combat the problem. And Elon says he makes a great point. Truth. Net migration was 431,000 in 2024. Yikes. All right, Elon says, wow. The government in Britain is bribing hotel owners with multi-millions of pounds for 7-year contracts to house illegal migrants. Interesting number, 7-year contracts. Their goal is obviously to amplify and extend the illegal migrant tidal wave, not reduce it. Anyone saying otherwise is a liar. Thankfully, this good man rejected the bribe. A boutique hotel owner in Cambridgeshire has rejected a $3 million 7-year contract to house migrants, saying it would harm the village and refused to be part of the arrogant government asylum system. See, this is what leads me to believe that Elon Musk is the other of the two witnesses, because who else has the voice of the entire world to be able to speak out and bring attention to these things? These things which cause torment to people who aren't paying attention. And this is the reason for this channel, because not everybody is doing this. A lot of people are just pointing fingers and saying, Elon bad, Orange Man bad. You know, Elon like Orange Man, make him bad. You know what I mean? They speak like cavemen. But this is the whole point. This is why this is the prophecy. I think this is the prophecy where they're speaking the truth. What else did you think it was to prophesy for 3.5 years? You think they were going to get up there and give you the next 1,000 years of what's going to happen? No, they're speaking the truth. They're up there saying, look, here's a problem over here. This is what's causing it. If you don't do something, it reminds me of Jonah and Nineveh saying, if you don't repent, you're going to be destroyed. That's what a prophet does. Yep. All right. Anything else? Elon Musk reposted lots of epping stuff. Arrested for social media posts. It's time, high time indeed. Yikes. 12,000 arrests for social media posts in the UK. The rape of Britain. Not anymore. One night in Oldham in 2006, for example, a 12-year-old girl. Yep, it's another story. This is what we mean when we talk about the rape of Britain. Yeah. Breaking. Protest erupts in Japan, demanding the deportation of all illegal immigrants from Australia to Europe to Japan. Citizens are uniting for remigration. Elon says, good. All right. Those in Westminster have always had warped plans and ideas. They just spend a lot of time and effort covering it up. They got to go. Labor chiefs, it's okay to, oh my God, no thanks. They need to grow. They need to go now, not in the future. Now. Agreed. It's time, high time indeed. Every single one of those demonic creatures should be executed. Yet Britain decided that their crime should be ignored because of Islamophobia. Right? Ban the Muslim Brotherhood. When real men wake up, it won't be pretty. I warned you for decades. It's time, high time indeed, and the craven cowards in authority too, especially them. You know, the interesting thing about Elon Musk, if anybody was going to be king of the world, it would be that dude. I mean, like, look at all the countries, all the companies that he has. He has arguably more buying power than anybody else in the world. He could do and have anything that he wants, and he's spending his time pointing these things out. That says something. That says something. When you care about humanity and you want humanity to increase and thrive, that's worth paying attention to. All right. A large reason that we have the First Amendment and Second, Fourth, Fifth, Sixth is because King George levied death, excessive fines, imprisonment without trials, property forfeiture, and banishment against the colonists for speech crimes under the proclamation of rebellion. Elon Musk says bullseye. Yep. The use of hormonal contraceptives by tens of millions of women could plausibly be having population level effects on behavior, including political behavior. A new study shows that women who use hormonal contraceptives exhibit significantly stronger emotional responses than women who are naturally cycling, and they also interestingly remember fewer details of negative events. A study last year showed that hormonal contraceptives shrink the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, a region of the brain involved in fear, processing, and emotional control. Interesting. Read the warnings on the box of anything you're taking. Agreed. A government that puts foreigners above their own people is, by definition, treasonous and illegitimate. He's right. Oh, Elon said that. Let's see. UK free speech crackdown sees up to 30 people a day arrested for petty offenses such as retweets and cartoons. Thank goodness for the First Amendment. Agreed. All right. Where are we? August 31st. Okay, we're getting there, guys. We're getting there. We're almost done. Muslim migrants in Germany. When we become the majority, we will take over Germany by force. German laws will be replaced by Sharia law. If anyone stands against us, we will attack them. Christians and Jews will have to convert or leave. They mean every word they say. You know, what's interesting about this is that second beast. This sounds like the second beast. If you don't convert, you die. Who chops off heads? These guys. Sharia law. Like I said, I think this second beast from the sea has something to do with religion. Very likely this one. I mean, there's a lot of evidence pointing at that. They have the numbers. He says, I believe him. All right, two-tier policing in Britain. Pro-Palestinian supporter climbs a war monument. No arrests. Police officers just watch. Mother hangs a Union flag. Let's see. Mother hangs a Union flag on Epping Forest District Council building. She's arrested. Two-tier Kier. Yeah. All right. He say anything else? Yep. This needs to be fixed. Evidence that woke is dead. Peer review is problematic, and science needs to address deep problems in its culture. Grad student in Howard conducted the first systematic database study to document and explain rise in gender dysphoria. His paper, this is interesting. His paper was rejected from a leading journal because, among other things, throughout the manuscript, the authors use language that is considered prejudicial and outdated. Example, natal sex as opposed to sex assigned at birth. It is critical to follow best practice and guidelines surrounding gender-inclusive language, particularly for research specifically on the topic of gender, incongruence, expression, and identity. This needs to be fixed. Agreed. As somebody who has something to say about that. Yep. All right. If the current British government is not on the side of the people of Britain, then they are by definition traitors. Yep. It is the establishment that has practiced extreme policies against the people for at least 30 years. They have given up our sovereignty, our democracy, our freedoms, and our borders. Bravo. Breaking. A woman has been arrested. Oh, he just talked about that. This is crazy. Grok code. Okay, I think we're where we left off. Let me just do a little searchy. Belgium must leave. Let's see. Belgians must leave Belgium. This is insane. Saliha Race, a politician from Molenbeek, wants a Europe without Europeans. Anyone who doesn't accept veiled women, anyone who don't accept Islam in Belgium can leave. This is Islam. I think we can see the rise of that second beast. Tomorrow we're going to start getting into that. His math is correct. Let's see. Pakistani migrant tell a Danish man, we have 5 children while you have, we have 5 children while you have 1 or 2. In 10 years, there will be more Pakistanis than Danes. Here, there are only 5 million Danes. You will soon be exterminated. His math is correct. New version of Grok. See, we cannot win the war raging against Western civilization if we first do not acknowledge it as real. True. Knowledge is power, like the old cartoon used to say. Let's see. A government that puts foreigners above its own people, by definition, is treasonous and illegitimate. People of Britain deserve a government that represents their interests, not those of shadowy foreign organizations. X has now exceeded 1 billion downloads on Android alone. I have heard the same story from everyone I know who lives in Britain and everyone who has visited, and it keeps getting worse. My English friends tell me what's happened in the UK is tragic and scary. While some neighborhoods are charming and safe, far too many have become literally lawless. Interesting. See, this is what I was talking about. The man of sin who goes in the temple of God as God, declaring himself to be God, doesn't have to be an actual person. It could be a religion. It could be a belief. And it could be, all it takes is 200 million people to support it. And then suddenly you're forced to convert or die. Forced to convert or lose your head. This is how UK and EU works. Court, NGOs, and other institutions prevent voters from dramatically changing immigration policies or enacting other reforms. The left tries to make the USA work this way too. Alongside Soros, US has funded this world order. Great thread on the study. I want to read it, but I'm sure it's too long. All right, we'll look. We'll give it a little look-see. Oh, it's not too long. Think about what this really means. Ned is openly arguing that to protect democracy, we must override democratic elections, weaken voter power, and use unelected institutions to block political outcomes they don't like. They are publishing articles on whether to end voting rights for populists, how to ban anti-establishment parties, and how to channel foreign money into media and NGOs that manipulate the political process. These strategies are being funded and implemented globally on your tax dollars, and it also is happening right now here in the United States. Members of Congress sit on Ned's board. This is how our political class thinks. Let it sink in. They do not want you to choose your leaders, and when you vote the wrong way, they call it backsliding and look for ways to stop it. In short, they despise you. And if you despise them back, you are the threat to democracy. This ends drop 1, but more to come. Thread end. Okay. Okay. Yep. All right. Hang on. Okay. Let's see. Let's
have said in terms that the rights of asylum seekers are more important than the rights of local people in Epping Forest. Would you at least acknowledge that that is what they will hear. And it's up to you. Ministers can say, we agree with that, or we don't agree with it. You can't simply say, let's balance things. Do you agree with what your lawyers said, or don't you?
Yes, of course we do. But
your lawyers, under your guidance, have said in terms that the rights of asylum seekers are more important than the rights of local people in Epping Forest. Would you at least acknowledge that that is what they will hear? And it's up to you. Ministers can say, we agree with that, or we don't agree with it. You can't simply say, let's balance things. Do you agree with what your lawyers said, or don't you?
Yes, of course we do. But
your lawyers, under your guidance, have said in terms that the rights of asylum seekers are more important.
Yeah, that's repeating. Yep. All right, now are we at the end? August 31st still. England is finally waking up. X is the media now because you are the media now. Woohoo. X is the group chat of Earth. Over 500 million posts every day, over 100 billion impressions daily, 650 plus million users. X. X is an interesting number. It's very interesting that he chose, that he's been so fascinated with X for so long. You know how I talk about chiastic structures and chiasm and chiasmuses? It actually comes from the Hebrew word for X, for the letter X. If you think about it, X is a mirror image. They're reversed. It's also throughout history is been used as a symbol for Christ. I'm not trying to say that Elon thinks he's Christ or anything like that, but I just think it's very interesting that his platform is called X. And it fights for free speech. The Labour Party goal is destruction of democracy by importing voters and bringing them with benefits paid for British citizens. Let's see, in Scottish and Welsh devolved assembly elections, voting age is 16. How Labour plan to win the next election. In the Scottish and Welsh devolved assembly elections, voting age is 16. The Labour government changed the voting rules in UK-wide elections to match this. In the Scottish and Welsh devolved assembly elections, foreigners can vote. Wow. The Labour government will soon change the voting rules. See, it's interesting to recognize that the first beast from the sea was made up of democracy, of the people. So all of these changes to the voting laws is what's going to control the next beast. That's how the next beast is going to rise into power, I think. I think we're seeing that. Labour government will soon change the voting rules in UK-wide elections to match this. This is why they're bringing in so many migrants. They will say you need to vote for us or another party will get in who will likely deport you. Fair enough. Yeah. The Labour Party goal is destruction of democracy by importing voters and bribing them with benefits paid for by British citizens. Yeah. Child sex abuse gangs could have assaulted 1 million youngsters in the UK. Rotherham's Labour MP Sarah Champion describes it as a national disaster and is demanding a task force to fight the horror. How many public sector workers, politicians, police officers, social workers, civil servants, NHS staff were involved in covering up the national scandal? Many. Any government that attacks free speech has something big and terrible to hide. Absolutely. Let's see. You see them as mass illegal immigrants who strain and drain the system. The Labour Party sees them as mass potential voters to game and tame the system. Bullseye. All right. I think we see the so there now we're at the 30th. So wow. That was a long night. I don't know. Do you guys like the 2-hour shows? I try. My goal on Monday through Friday is to do like 15-minute torment reports. But unless we do like extreme summaries of the content, going through each individual post takes time. So maybe I should just set realistic goals of an hour for the show. So I think we're going to target doing an hour for the show Monday through Friday. And maybe for the weekend, we'll do the summary so that we don't do these 2-hour shows unless you guys really like the 2-hour shows. I could probably make them work, but I really like the 1 hour shows. The 15 minutes to 1 hour shows. I think those are no problem. The 2 hour shows is really kind of pushing it. I think, so I think that's going to be the plan going forward. We'll shoot for like a half hour to an hour every day, 5 days a week. And then on Monday, we'll do a summary of the weekend. It's really awesome going through these individual posts. I mean, like there were some real, interesting highlights from tonight with both what Trump is doing and Elon Musk is bringing attention to. And like the whole revelation about the locusts and the bees. It's been a very interesting day, to say for certain. I mean, like there's been a lot of interesting things to look into. I think it's going to be a fun week looking at this second beast from Revelation 13. Anyway, we're at the 2 hour mark. We went extra long here to cover the weekend. So I hope you guys had fun tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the thumbs up and share the show with your friends. If you enjoy the content, make sure you participate in the comments. If you want to, comment on something that we're doing or not doing that you'd like to see in the show. I do try to, as long as there's not too many comments, I do try to read all of those and respond to them when I can. Awesome. Looking forward to the week ahead.